In this demo, I'm going to talk through how to connect your Giraffe project design to an Excel model. If you're a development manager, commercial or finance manager, you likely have an existing Excel template that you use to do feasibility assessments and pro forma appraisals. These models can be used to cash flow your projects and calculate your financing costs and IRR. Here's a simple example. You'll see I have my revenues and my costs set out for this project. We've assumed start dates, durations, and end dates. You'll see that the land acquisition is assumed at the start. And then in this model, I've assumed that I have planning and design costs for the first few months. Then I start my sales activities. Then once I have a certain level of pre-sales, I will start construction. Now in this model, I've modeled construction costs along an S-curve through the construction period, in this example, 24 months. And then at the end of construction, I've assumed that the revenue comes in. So within Excel, it's pretty easy to create this kind of cash flow model, to work out the cash flows every month and to determine an IRR and a margin on cost. And then you could build this out further then to assume your financing assumptions and other assumptions within your model. Now to link this to Giraffe, we first need to set up our analysis template within Giraffe to match our Excel format. So you'll see here back in Giraffe that I've set up an analytics template that aligns with the way that my Excel model is set out. So I've got the same revenue lines, I've got the same cost lines, I've got my residual land value calc and my profit. Now within Giraffe, each of these are actually linked to the model that I've drawn. And they essentially, in every scenario, it's basically an area times a rate. So you'll see here that the residential value is the value of these two buildings, the area of those buildings times the sales price that I've assumed. And that sales price is set within the usage editor, where I've just entered an assumption for a sales price for residential use, but I have a different price assumed for affordable residential and for the retail as well. Likewise with the costs, on each of those areas, I've assumed a different hard cost rate for construction and a soft cost rate for the professional fees. And so by doing that, we can set this model up in such a way that as we change the areas on the model, it instantly updates the assumptions within the Analytics tab. Now in this example, I'm actually looking at two different scenarios. So I've created option 1 here on a single layer, and this is a lower density scheme. This is 268 units, 12% affordable, and I'm assuming that's going to take 24 months to build. But then what I've done is I've actually duplicated this layer and created a second layer here with a larger scheme, where I'm assuming 332 units, 22% affordable, and a 30-month construction period. And so what I want to do now is actually take both of these scenarios into Excel so I can cash flow both of them and compare the IRR of the two schemes. Now it's worth mentioning there was one step I needed to do to get these assumptions populated here for the start month and the end month. And I've done that by creating a custom property. So within the buildings, you can go up here to add property. And I have created two properties here, a start month property and a construction months property, and assign that to the building. And so that's what generates these metrics over here. Likewise, you could create a formula that perhaps looks at the height of the building and uses that to determine what the construction period would be. Okay, now to export this to Excel, this is what we need to do. First, you need to ensure that your grouping here is set to layer. And by setting it to layer, you'll be able to see those two scenarios set out in separate columns. Next, we need to export it as a CSV. So you click here where it says configure. You go to the section that says export, and then you click export.csv. And that will output a file that looks like this. So here is where the magic happens. Back in your Excel model, you would have some kind of input tab where these assumptions are being derived from. In this example, I've got an input tab here where I've input assumptions for two different scenarios. And these assumptions at the moment are just sitting in here manually entered. You may have these set up as rates times areas or some other formulas to get to what's driving your model at the moment. So what we need to do is actually replace the links within this section of your model to link to the data that's coming from Giraffe. And so the way we do that is we create a new tab within Excel and we call it Giraffe. And then what we want to do is copy and paste that data from the CSV file that we downloaded into that tab. Just select A1 and drop it in there. Now we just need to link up the Excel model to reference this tab. And so the way we do that is we use a formula, a lookup formula. In this case, I'm using an index match formula to look up that data. And so what an index formula will do is it will look for a reference for both the row and the column within the other tab, and it will use those two references to pull in that specific bit of data. So in this model, I've added another column next to my headings with the heading name that metric is within Giraffe. And it's worth doing that in case they're named something slightly differently in the two models, so you can ensure that you can edit those and they exactly line up. And then likewise, I've also added a row here in row 7 with the name of the layer as it's named in Giraffe, because again, that may be different to how you've named it within your model. So essentially what this formula then does is it looks up that row within the Analytics tab, Private Residential, and then it looks up for this layer or scenario, option 1. And you'll notice in this formula, I've actually added 4 to the column reference. And the reason I've done that is within the Giraffe data, you'll see it actually brings in multiple metrics here. It brings in the areas as well as the rates. And so the column I want to pick up is this result column, which is column G, which is offset by 4 columns from the name of the scenario. So by putting +4 there, it will look up option 2 and then move 4 columns across to get the value within this column here. So all we need to do then is that exact same formula can be used in all of these cells. And so we literally just copy and paste that in here to replace your existing numbers. And we do the same for the assumptions up here, and then your whole model is linked up. And so then you will see the numbers from Giraffe being cash flowed out on these tabs, and you'll be able to look at your summary tab. And so here you'll see the outputs of this analysis. I can see the 2 cash flow profiles for option 1 or scenario 1 and scenario 2. I can see the metrics here, which will be the same metrics as are in my Giraffe tab. But now I also have the IRR calculated for both schemes. And so I can look at this now and say, look, while the larger scheme does deliver more profit, actually I'd receive a better IRR doing the smaller scheme, and that actually has a higher residual land value as well, which means I'm more likely to win the bid based on going with the lowest scheme. And so just to show you now, when you go back into Giraffe, you'll see that the metrics are the same across both here. But this is really where the magic happens now you've linked it up. Because if I want to make changes now to the design, say I'm in option 2 here, and I want to look at a scenario where we increase the height of this building, I can make that change in Giraffe. I just go back here, configure, export to CSV again, pops out with the file, which opens up over here. I simply select all, copy that, and then go back into my Giraffe tab and paste that in. And the model instantly updates again. And so within 20 seconds, you've got your whole cash flow model aligned to your Giraffe assumptions once again. And this can be a massive time saver. I mean, this process can sometimes take 4 to 6 weeks to actually go from a design to get your cost plan updated, to get your model updated. And it also means that any further assumptions you build out in your Excel in terms of financing and other things are retained there. All of your presentation slides are retained in Excel, and you can very quickly update between the two. How cool is that?